Sometimes the attic won't accept me and I get banished downstairs. Welcome to the kitchen dungeon. My name is Sam, and whether you just want to grill some meat or forage fanciful foodstuffs, I'm here to help you with everything. Yes, this appears to be episode 2 of the kitchen dungeon. Those weird recording sessions where I cannot access my attic for some reason and I have to record downstairs. Oh well, no harm done. Having to record in the kitchen again though made me think. Quite a few of the characters that I create to play myself are proficient with chef utensils. Why? I like having a character that can cook. It adds role-playing value. It's an easy hook in some situations to have something to talk about, something to do during off time, and sometimes it provides me with access to places where I shouldn't be because I'm just the chef's assistant coming through. But what if we want to make this mechanically more impactful? What if you want your cookery to actually mean something? And I can hear you coming from a mile away. Sam, don't we have a chef feat since Tasha's came out? Yes, we do. However, I am afraid it is very lackluster and actually not my preferred way to play a chef in D&D. I was doing it before the feat came out with a different feat I will talk about in a bit. What are we going to do? Today we're going to fusion cook a bit between my usual mechanical videos and some of the role-playing videos that I do. I'm going to match some classes and feats and ways of how they handle things to give you a few options of playing a chef. Now obviously any character could cook with the right proficiency, so that's not a problem. But I am very convinced that there are a few classes that lean into being a chef a bit more than others do. So, without any further ado, let's look at the two feats first. We'll start with the obvious one, and that is of course the chef feat. What that does is the following. It gives you a bump in wisdom or constitution, and that's good, obviously. That is a nice start, which usually means that what the feat does is a bit less powerful, because obviously you're gaining both a bump and an extremely powerful feat. Sadly, we're not even talking decently powerful here. Most of the features are actually at best. So you get the bump, you get proficiency with cooking utensils. Huzzah, that helps with that part because not every class has easy access to those. But don't forget there's loads of backgrounds that give you a tool proficiency and you can pick this one up anyway. Then you get 2 extra things. During a short rest, you can make food for 4 people plus your proficiency bonus. And if these people used a hit die during the short rest, they can add a d8 to the healing. Already you can see the lacklusterness of this, because basically each hit die gives you whatever you roll plus your constitution modifier. So a d8, especially at higher levels, is not going to do that much. But hey, I'm never the one to turn down free healing, but I do like it to be somewhat more efficient. The other thing you can do is create a number of snacks equal to your proficiency bonus, and then people can eat these as a bonus action to gain temporary hit points equal to your proficiency bonus again. And the setup here is great. If that would be a number of snacks equal to your proficiency bonus, sure, that would be good if they actually healed for a bit more. Right now, bonus action, also great by the way. The healing on a bonus action is something we're always looking for, but healing for your proficiency bonus, hooey, that gets outscaled rather quickly. It'll work at level 1, too bad you need to be level 4 to get a feat. When your proficiency bonus is like 2 and you have 10 HP, that heals you for 20% of your maximum hit points. Huzzah, that's good. But if you're level, what am I playing at right now? I think I'm level 9 with my artificer, and he has like 80 hit points. Proficiency is what, 3 or 4? That is already a bit lackluster. And then you can only have 2 of these. So that is basically a feat that at the end of a long rest, that is, or at the end of an hour's work, that's what you have to do. Either work for an hour or a long rest. You get 2 candies that can basically heal people for less than 5 temporary hit points. Yes, they're temporary hit points. Yes, they stack on top of your healing, but it's such a pitiful amount. They would either need to up the amount of candies or preferably actually make the amount of temporary hit points more impactful. So here you have a chef feat which flavor-wise works. You get to whip up snacks that help people, but the math behind it just doesn't add up, and that is really sad. That is why my preference still goes to the feat that I've been using to play chefs throughout 5e, and that is Inspiring Leader. Inspiring Leader works very differently. There's no stat bump because the actual math works for this one. If you take 10 minutes to inspire up to 6 people, so that can be done during a short rest, you can give them temporary hit points equal to your level plus your charisma modifier. Obviously this requires you, well, it doesn't, but it really helps if you have somewhat of a positive charisma modifier. I played this on a fighter/rogue that had leftover ability score points and put those into charisma. I had 14 charisma, whoop-de-doo, this worked really well. And this scales somewhat better, seeing as you are healing based on your level and your modifier. If you're playing a charisma-based class, both of those will go up, and that's not too bad. Being able to hand out, let's say you have 16 charisma because you're like a sorcerer or a warlock or a bard, maybe a paladin even, and you're level 10, that means you're handing out 15 temporary hit points to 6 people every short rest, basically, because the one condition for this is to be affected by it again, you need to have had a short or a long rest. So that is very easily done. This out temporary heals the chef feat by miles. Even if your character is not all that charisma based, you're still going to get more mileage out of this feat than out of the chef feat. And now you're going, but Sam, that one's talking to people, not cooking. That's obviously just a reflavor away. My halfling fighter rogue who had this feat was sometimes actually boosting people with his word, but more often than not was cooking snacks during downtime, was providing warm, healthy soul food for the party, which gave them the temporary hit points. That is really just a bit of reflavoring to turn this feat into an actual chef feat that works. So while we wait on wizards to actually fix the chef feat, maybe that might happen in 1 D&D, but yeah, I prefer to work with the Inspiring Leader one whenever possible. Now, it's not always possible, because sometimes you're playing a class that just doesn't do charisma, and then Chef will do in a pinch, as long as you don't expect to do a lot of things at level 20 with the feat. Now, classes. What classes will make for great cooks? I already mentioned I played a fighter rogue, and both of those work really well. Mine was a military guy, but I could actually see a rogue lean into butchery, you know, knowing where to cut out a nice piece of meat requires precision. So any dexterity-based fighters or rogues could be great butchers, you know, to cut out a piece of meat and then have knowledge of actually grilling it as well. Fighter and rogues do not need a lot of different ability scores, so can quite comfortably lean into charisma and pick up Inspiring Leader. No problem there. You could also just take the constitution bump for your fighter or your rogue and take chef. That works as well. Artificers, with all their exotic regions and different toolkits and what have you, are those cooks who make those funky, complex dishes. They will know how to cook, but they'll never just make a steak. It will always be infused with something, added with a touch of, I found this somewhere in a lost mine, you know, the very fancy cook. That is most definitely going to be an artificer. Has probably automated his cooking tools as well to do a part of the work for him. And you might think, oh, then I have to play an alchemist because then I get more flavor stuff. No, you might as well be a battlesmith, and you know, your guardian that you have, nobody's stopping you from it being a goat on 4 legs with a built-in barbecue. Literally nothing is stopping you from doing that. Playing an artificer chef will obviously mean that you're going to pick up the chef feat, because you really don't have room for points in your charisma if you're playing your artificer to its fullest potential. If you're not, feel free to shove in some points, obviously, and pick up Inspiring Leader. Another class that works really well in my head as a chef is a monk. Like a monk who fights barehanded, could kill a Taraz just by punching it, and has a beautiful set of knives, and he takes those out just to cook, really. It's kind of like his pastime. He doesn't use any weapons. for fighting, but if you give him knives, he can make you the best meal in town or out of town if you're on the road. And obviously monks wouldn't mind the stat bumps from chef as well. They are a wisdom based class, which would grant them increased armor, and the constitution could work as well if your wisdom is already maxed out. And last but not least, I like having a sorcerer chef as well. Great candidates for inspiring leader, obviously, because they are a charisma-based class. And having a sorcerer whose magic is all food-themed sounds really fun as well. Firebolt becomes a piece of charcoal. Anything else could be food-themed as well. My inspiration has abandoned me at this point, apparently. But why the chef? You could think, oh, he could be like the most magical chef ever and spicing up the food with subtle magic. Yes, but how about no? Like, he's super magical and he loves food so much that it appears in his magic. But cooking is kind of the non-magical thing he does. He does it to prove that he also has skills without his innate magic with which he was born. I think that's an even cooler thing than spicing up all your dishes with magic, but because that's just kind of cheating, innit? So there you are, some nice options on how you can build a chef in Dungeons and Dragons that both fits the flavor and where the cooking has at least some minor mechanical impact. If all goes well, I'll see you all again in 2 weeks in the Attic Dungeon.